Good afternoon, Keller ISD. We are excited to see you on this chilly but sunny afternoon in Keller. Thank you for taking some time to join us to learn a little bit more about something that we have in Keller ISD that we know our teachers want to be utilizing for our students. Today, our topic is learning A to Z. And learning A to Z for us encompasses reading A to Z and Headsprouts, which they term a K to 6 all-in-one blended learning platform that grows readers, and it does, and we're excited to share it with you today. So thank you for joining us. We were talking just before we went live and noted that this is episode number 22 for us for Kickstart Your Learning. So that's exciting. And I want to welcome the people who are watching, but I also want to introduce you today to the people who are going to be bringing you content. So joining us today, we have Ellie Atkins-Webb. She is our coordinator in Keller ISD for student intervention.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
We also have Jill Kirsch. She is an IST teacher at Eagle Ridge Elementary.
Hi, everyone.
We have two very special guests coming to us from Learning A to Z, the vendor. We have Elizabeth DeLagerodier and also Lori Todd.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. That's an extra special treat to have people who are so knowledgeable about the program here helping our teachers. My name is Christy Harold. I'm joining you as the host today from EdTech or Educational Technology in Keller. And I've also got Laura, Sarah, Misty, and Jeremy helping me out moderating.
Hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
We're thankful for them moderating in the background, and thank you guys so much for helping. And then as always, Erin Reister, our director, is helping me do all the YouTube stuff that makes this go live to you guys. Thank you, Erin. All right. We have a few housekeeping things to do at the beginning of this. And if you've been with us before, you know these. So bear with us for a few minutes as we get everyone settled. If you are looking at your YouTube page and you see a chat channel on the right in a box, and you can chat back and forth with us, you are good to go. You may see nothing there and a little box that says you need to create a channel to chat. So I'm going to walk you through those steps real quick to get that done so that you can engage with us during this learning. So again, if your window says that you must create a channel to join the chat, I need you to complete these three very simple steps. First, you're going to click on your avatar in the top right-hand corner, the circle that's usually your picture or could be your initials. Then you're going to choose Create a Channel. This will pop you into a new screen where you have a couple of choices. You're going to choose the choice that says Use Your Name, and then at the bottom, you're going to select. And last, you'll scroll to the bottom and click Save and Continue. So I'm going to repeat those steps one more time because if you're doing them, you may be listening to the audio only. You'll click your avatar in the top right-hand corner and then Create a Channel. Then you'll select the Use Your Name side of the screen and select at the bottom. And last, you'll scroll to the bottom and click Save and Continue. Oftentimes, when you create this channel, you'll have to either refresh your screen or return to our website, which today is www.kellerisd.net/kickstart. Doing those steps will ensure that you can engage with us today, and so we'd love for you to do that. If you are a YouTube Live participant and you are here for EQ credit, we are so happy to offer that to you. We do have a few simple requests. We would like for you to watch the entire event live. We would like for you to introduce yourself in the chat window, and most of you who've joined us before are already doing that. Thank you so much. Let us know where you're from in Keller and what you're teaching. And then during the event, if you'll at least engage with us by commenting or asking a question, that way we'll know you're here to learn and engage. And then at the end of the event today, I will give you a link to a form that will grant you EQ credit for this event. In case you did not know, like I mentioned earlier, we're on our 22nd episode. Our past Kickstart learning events live at the same web address that you came to today to get to this live event. So if you're interested in seeing any of our past events, you would go to that same website and you would find them in a playlist. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about today is how our students in Keller ISD access learning A to Z. That's somewhat of a little bit of a confusing issue, so we just want to clear that up in the training today, and we're going to do that by showing you two videos. I'm going to start with the video on Chromebooks. This is how you would access learning A to Z on a Chromebook. We'll make that large screen for you guys. First, you're going to direct your students to go to KCloud. So on a Chromebook, kcloud.kellerisd.net and sign in. And once they're in their KCloud, they can actually open the app from two places. They can use the app that lives on their main screen, or they can enter their backpack. Inside their KCloud backpack, this app lives in the ELA or language arts class. So they would choose that. And then they would choose apps on the left. And then their Learning A to Z app would live on that screen. And that should, because of the single sign-on feature that we have with ClassLink, which is our KCloud, automatically log them in to their Learning A to Z account. And so we're going to look at those same steps now on an iPad. If your students are at one of the elementary campuses that got iPads this semester, they are going to start Learning A to Z with the ClassLink app, and ClassLink is KCloud for us. ClassLink is a vendor that's global, so they service multiple districts all over the world. So the first thing your student will have to do is search for Keller. Once they do that, they will be able to see that they're at our KCloud. It'll be very clear. They're going to then sign into KCloud as they normally would. And again, they can open Learning A to Z from their main screen or from their backpack. And from here, it's those same basic steps of finding that language arts class, using the apps, using Learning A to Z, and being logged straight in without a code or a separate password. So we love the convenience of that feature. And we are hoping to get all of our students into the habit of making KCloud or ClassLink if they're using an iPad that first step. So with those two things done, we are going to get on with the show. You guys, again, are in for a real treat with these ladies today, Ellie and Jill from Keller, Elizabeth and Lori from Learning A to Z, and I'm going to pass the show on to them.
Thank you so much, Christy. And again, I'm Ellie Adkins-Webb, Student Intervention Coordinator for Keller ISD, and I just welcome all of you for joining us today. And if you've ever been present in one of our Learning A to Z trainings before, some of what I'm going to share with you, these few minutes might be a little redundant, but I promise you that Jill and also Elizabeth will be sharing some brand new information for you. But just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'm going to just be sharing a couple of things about how Learning A to Z gives us both Reading A to Z and Headsprout, and how all together it's just our perfect blended learning platform for Keller. And so just a few things, a few reminders about your Keller ISD Learning A to Z accounts. If you are a K through 6 teacher in Keller, you already have RAZ-Plus, which is Reading A to Z and Kids A to Z. You also have Headsprout, and these sync, just like Christy was referring to syncs and Aries through ClassLink. You and your students are already rostered in the program, just to remind you of that. We'll be sharing some links with you throughout our presentation today that if you click on those, you'll have some helpful guidance. And I want to remind you too that on NK Cloud, there is a wonderful tile, that's our RTI tile. And if you click on that, you can access all kinds of helpful reading A to Z and Headsprout guidance. And all of the videos that Christy just shared with you are also now uploaded onto our RTI website. So thank you, Christy, for creating those to make sure that we have sign in easy and simple for everybody. Just a reminder, because it can't be said enough, that our teachers and students log in through K-Cloud, Learning A to Z. And also because the student process for logging in on an iPad might be a little challenging for parents, you know, you could share the video with them that Christy has created. We also have a document that will be shared with you. It's on the website as well. You can also access both a learning guide and also a parent guide by scanning these QR codes. If you have your smartphone with you or an iPad, you can use your camera feature on iPhones, and I think Android, you have to actually have the QR code app downloaded to read those. But either way, you can get to all those helpful documents through our RTI site in K-Cloud. And so we're going to begin our learning today, just like what we do as teachers, right? We want to self-assess where our learners are. And so first of all, if each of you who are in our session today, if you would just kind of think about where you feel that you are with learning A to Z, with reading A to Z and Headsprout. If you are brand new to the program, haven't really used it before, if you'd go ahead and just drop a 1 into that chat that Christy has showed you how to use. And if you feel like you're a pro and you could actually teach others how to do it, if you'd rate yourself a 4, and if you'd find yourself somewhere in the middle, just a 2 or a 3. And while you're dropping those in and Christy and her team are kind of looking at your feedback, I just want to share with you that currently we have about 1,200 teachers in Keller ISD right now that are actively using Reading A to Z and Headsprout to support their students' learning, and about 12,000 students are using this actively. So we are so excited and blown away by that. Christy, is it possible that you could kind of tell us right now, do we have an eye on the feedback yet?
Yeah, we have a few responses. So we've got some 2s and 3s, which is great.
That is great.
Yeah, a couple of 1s as well. So yeah, I think anything you can bring to them today will help them level up their learning A to Z use.
That is fantastic. And so very good. And for those of you who are 1s, welcome. And for those of you who are 2s and 3s, that's so exciting because I think this is the first time we've had a 3 in any of our sessions. So you're learning, and that's exciting. So real quick, especially for you 2s and 3s, now think about where would you rate yourself again if I were to ask you, if you were to use your NWEA map reading data and those RIT scores that you're getting from your students, right? And if you were to take those RIT scores and try to find a teacher lesson, one of those teacher packs in Reading A to Z, where would you rate yourself with that on a scale of 1 to 4? Could you find a reading intervention lesson to fill in that gap for your kids? Go ahead and drop those in the chat, please, for just a second. And while you're doing that, I'll tell you another exciting tidbit is that during the last 30 days, Keller ISD students have logged almost 1 million minutes in the last month alone in this platform. So Christy, do we have any feedback on that next section?
We do. We've got more 1s this time. Okay. So that will be something that will be very helpful to them when you show that today, and a couple of 2s spread out in that.
Very good. Thank you so much. Well, and we know too that that's really one of the main reasons why we purchased this program, and we're so thankful to Learning A to Z, who has brought us into this partnership, and they've been so generous with us. They allowed us to pilot this, and now we've got a great intervention answer for us. So as we think about our district purpose for having, you know, RAZ-Plus and Headsprout in our district. So first of all, any of you who've been in Keller for a while, you may know that when we would talk about Tier 2 reading intervention, you know, we weren't always sure what would we use for that. But It's so exciting that Reading A to Z does provide our official Tier 2 reading curriculum for grades K through 6. And just want you to know, for those of you who have an intervention time on your campus, we should all have an advisory block or an intervention time. This is what we can use for our small group curriculum. So that's really exciting. And though, secondly, as you think about, with COVID school closures back in March, NWEA MAP, they predicted that our students were going to come back with a significant reading gap, going to be further behind in reading than we would have ever anticipated them to be. And so with this platform, it's a blended learning platform. We have the digital component that can be easily accessed from smartphones at home, but also we have the printable components that can make up that great Tier 2 intervention lesson, but it can be easily pushed out whether students are in person or remote learners in our district. And then also just thinking about this, in addition to your ELA block, which is about 90 minutes in Keller ISD, if you are doing these small group lessons, these Tier 2 lessons, and also supplementing with the Headsprout episodes that Jill's going to share a little bit about today, and we love that, you can grow your students, about 1.5 years in reading for a typical learner. And we know that making 1 year growth in reading is not always easy, but to make 1.5 years growth and to fill in that COVID gap, that is significant and so helpful to our students and to all of our teachers. So just real quickly, as we think about finding that Tier 2 curriculum, I first want to just, reference with NWEA MAP, knowing that we have this wonderful tool to assess our students K through 8 in Keller ISD. What you would do is you would log into your teacher accounts in MAP. You would access your growth reports, okay? And just to let you know, I did include a little QR code link up here for you as well that will have about a 6-minute video to show you how to do this, but I'm going to kind of walk you through very quickly. You're going to pull up the Learning Continuum Class View report, and on that you'll see you'll see a RIT band, the number of your RIT band, and you'll also see the areas in which your students would need to have some intervention given to them. There again, there's that QR code for you to access the video. It's also on the website. But anyway, you would take that RIT score, and here you can see it's 161 to 170, and you would just go into your RAZ-Plus, into your teacher account, and you would click where it says Curricula and Assessments. And right there, you would see that little green box. You would choose NWEA MAP and the appropriate grade level, enter in your RIT range, and then it will take you into some pages where you can access the printable teacher packs. And those teacher packs are 5 days worth of lessons that will align to those areas of needed intervention for your students. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to the amazing Jill Kirsch. And I wanted to let you know too, Jill is at Eagle Ridge, and she has been so significant in helping me and in helping all of us learn more about intervention. So Jill, if you'll go ahead and take it away. I know you'll enjoy learning from Jill.
Well, hello. Thank you, Ellie, so much. And yes, I am so excited to join you this afternoon and to just share from the classroom perspective the way that some of these resources are really enriching what we're able to do for our kids right now. I know everybody is trying to get the most bang for our buck and to use these resources to fill in those gaps as quickly and swiftly and with as much fidelity as we can. And Reading A to Z and Headsprout combined just allow us to do that in a way that we've never actually been able to do before using this suite of products. So I'm really excited about it. So when we log in through KCloud, we usually see, if you go through the teacher login, you see your dashboard first. And Ellie so very elegantly explained how we can get to our RIT scores and find those resources. Well, I just want to share some tips and tricks on how you can assign those to kids and access them with the greatest of ease so that you are spending less time and just working so much smarter and not that much harder, because we're doing a lot of that already. So when you go to your dashboard and click on your classroom, you'll see your class roster link. And once you click on that class roster, you will see all of your students pop up. And this is just your general view. So it will tell you everything about your student within the products of A to Z and Headsprout, RAZ and Headsprout. So one thing that I like to do is I like to organize my students into groups, because I see multiple students throughout the day as the intervention support teacher here at Eagle Ridge. And they range from working on kindergarten skills of alphabetic principles to high levels of comprehension. So when I'm looking at all of my kids in one roster, that can be a lot. And that's just like your classroom too. Our learners are very diverse. So one thing that I like to do is I like to go through based on the areas that we're working on and assign some groups for them. So I'll show you how to do that now. So if you pick a few students and click to the left in the box beside their name, and then go up to the group little icon, you can add a group, or you can use existing groups you've already organized. But let's say we had a group of students that were working solely on main idea. I can create a group and label it main idea and add those students to that main idea group, and that will allow me to know when I'm going to assign resources, those kids that need that particular resource. And speaking of resources, let's look at some of those things that we might want to access. Ellie spoke about using the NWEA RIT score, and that is a wonderful way to access resources for Tier 2. It actually prints or comes up in a PDF, and you can save that PDF with the live links, and straight from there you can go in and assign things. Or you can go to the RAZ-Plus tab at the top of your screen, and once you're in that application, you can bring up some more resources for your kids. The resources that I'm referring to and that Ellie showed you earlier are all the way down at the very, very bottom of the screen in one way. That's one way that you can find them. So there's that curricula and assessments that Ellie showed us. I, as an interventionist, like to use the response to intervention instructional tools. So the reason I use these is because it allows me to tailor what I'm doing for my kids so that it just fills in all the gaps that they may need. As a person who works with kids that are in Tier 3, oftentimes they need even more than what some of our intervention programs will allow us to provide. So I can find resources here that will fill in those gaps for them. So if we're looking, this is great. It corresponds perfectly to our tier structure, and it just shows from a very low range of low-level skills up to the highest range of skills, things that you can find for students and that you can coordinate with the simple tier system. One of the things that you can do is if you are looking for a specific skill, you can come in, let's say in phonics, you know your kids have a little bit of a gap with the silent E concept or with working on words with blends. Well, you can come in into the lessons and decodable texts, and you can find just exactly the resource that is geared to those students and what they need. You can look by grade level, or you can look by individual concepts. And you can see right up here at the top, there's a scope and sequence that will help you with that, also knowing exactly where to look. Once you get into a resource, you can find things that are assignable to your kids. And if you go to a resource, you'll notice that it might have a little planet out beside it that you can actually assign to kids straight from there. So I am going to go ahead and click on one of the books, and you can see that little assign planet. So if I had a student that needed this resource, I could click assign, and I could go to my groups, and they're all listed here. And so there's that main idea group I created a minute ago, but let's say I would give this resource to group A, and you can see it automatically chose the kids that are in that group A group. You click assign, And then the next time your students log in, it will be right there. So one more thing I want to talk about before I turn it back over to Ellie and we take any questions you may have is Headsprout. Oh my goodness, I am so excited that we have this resource to access for our kids. And I'm just going to click into the Headsprout tab for you and tell you a couple of the reasons why I'm so excited to have my kids utilizing this. If you haven't jumped into Headsprout yet and asked your kids to go ahead and click on that Headsprout planet, please do so. It looks a little different in the intermediate view than it does in the primary view. They have more of a dashboard, which looks a little more grown up. But if you're working with primary kids, you'll see those two little planets. So once they click on that Headsprout planet, it automatically will assign them a placement exam. Once they do that little placement assessment, it tailors everything they need exactly to them, whether it is direct phonics lessons or comprehension lessons or even advanced comprehension, which I believe is new this year. And I'm really excited to see that taken up to a higher level for our kids that are striving even higher, because Headsprout is not just for intervention. The power in Headsprout is that it really is tailored for each individual student based on that placement assessment. So when you go into manage students here, you'll notice that you have a reports option. And I'm just going to very quickly show you how you can manage Headsprout and you can see where your kids are and what they're working on. So this actually takes you back to your dashboard and you can click on the Headsprout product in the drop-down tab. You can go to assessments or assignments actually, and within Headsprout and within the last, let's see, all for these kids, you would be able to see what assignment or what episode the student is working on. So I'm going to click on episodes and it should show you, and it does at a glance. Once they've taken that placement exam, it walks them through a scope and sequence of phonics, comprehension, and then advanced comprehension. And you can isolate out one student. Let me find this one student with lots of good information right here. And once they've completed episodes, you actually see the percentages of the episodes and the progress that they're making. And the great power is, if you notice, oh my goodness, they struggled a little bit with episode 29, you can go into the Headsprout scope and sequence and find exactly what those skills are. And there are resources there that you can use to help remediate that too. So it's a great program to use together with Reading A to Z. They can, of course, work in their level up books, and you can use those to help them. And then Headsprout really tailors for what they need. So I hope that just opens a window for you and helps you know what to look for. And then please let us know how we can support you more. And Ellie, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thank you, Jill. Oh my goodness. So y'all can see why Jill is so amazing, and we appreciate Jill's expertise. You know, she grows us as adult learners as well. So Jill, thank you for your great teaching. And we also enjoyed looking into your classroom. Jill has an amazing classroom at Eagle Ridge. I hope someday you'll get to visit that. But that's Jill's contact information there. And she's been taking lots of questions for us from teachers and specialists in the district who are using Reading A to Z and Headsprout as well. So thank you again, Jill. And Jill's still on here. And we're going to go into Q&A for any of you who are in our session today and you have a few questions. This is a great time to send those to us. I also want to share with you the picture of this wonderful person here. She couldn't be with us today, but we are so appreciative of Angie Romano. She is the Senior Manager of Professional Learning at Learning A to Z. She's just part of this wonderful team. But the good news is that we do have Elizabeth on with us, and we also have another wonderful rep from Learning A to Z, Lori Todd, in this. So at this time, if we have any questions, Christy, would you let us know?
Sure. if you're watching and you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. We don't have any currently. So I'd love to hear from the participants about the things you like most about learning A to Z. If you don't have a question in the chat, would you tell me what you love most about this program? I mean, sitting and hearing about it over the last few days, I'm amazed at this online adaptable program that we have. And I know that all of our teachers in Keller need to be using it for our sweet kiddos. And if you are teaching in Keller and you have any fear or doubt about using this, I mean, you just saw you can reach out to Ellie or Jill and get all the help you need in incorporating this better into your ELA time.
Christy, I did see in the chat that someone asked how we would use how we would find the scope and sequence for Headsprout that I mentioned. So if that's something you'd like to, I believe I can show you that. I might need Elizabeth to walk me through the steps a little bit.
You're fine. Just if you can share your screen.
Okay, I sure will.
Yeah, go back and share. That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, should be able to see it now. So if I go into the Headsprout tab, that's where we'll be able to find it, right, Elizabeth?
Yeah, that's the easiest place.
Yeah.
Most logical, I think, too.
I think so too, yeah.
And so if you want to go ahead and scroll to the bottom there. Previously, when we looked at the NWEA alignments, the great screenshot there that Ellie had showed earlier, but on Headsprout here, then you're going to see all the different pieces that are listed out specific to Headsprout, and that scope and sequence is listed there. And I have to agree, I find it extremely useful because it is computer adaptive, the placement of the student based upon that tool that they take at the beginning. You know, it is nice to be able to go and see, okay, what is this episode going to cover?
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully you're able to see that now. And so it will show you the different parts, the early reading, which is the phonics, and then the reading comprehension, and then the advanced. And you can find those just at a click, and then it will show you each episode exactly what they're working on.
And that advanced reading comprehension piece, you're correct, it is new, and there are 50 segments in that.
There's really more lessons than a student could get through in a year, even if we encourage them.
It really is.
Is it the 3 lessons a week that Headsprout is recommending?
Recommended, and kind of based on where they're at in their learning too. I typically find, my daughter's on it as well, and she's 7, and a segment 3 times a week is about what she can handle. So I think that's pretty typical.
I would say so. That's the goal that my learners and I have set for ourselves is 3 times a week. And, sometimes they're not able to do a whole session at one time. So we break it down into 10 or 15 minutes, and that's just fine. Headsprout remembers where they are and picks them right back up, which is nice.
Very good. So may I go ahead? I see a couple of questions posted in the chat, and Krista has asked, she stated, I assigned high frequency card lists to the students, but some of them didn't show up. Do they have to start from the very first list? Does anyone know that? And if we don't have an answer for you today, we'll have Auntie get back with you. I promise on that. So assigned high frequency cards. Do you know?
I believe you can use them in any order.
Okay.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, yes, you can use them in any order. You are absolutely right. And that is the beauty of it. So we can troubleshoot if somebody's not seeing that.
Thank you so much. And then I see that Cheryl asked a question. She said, when students are working through level up books, will the system automatically bump them up when they start mastering those books? Or does the teacher have to adjust the level?
That's a great question. Yeah, so that's one of the things I find amazing about the product too, is that, once we start them at that just right level, there's a range there. And as they're starting to go through those books and complete them, as they complete all of the books that are in that just right level, the system will automatically then move them up to the next grouping of books that include both fiction and nonfiction. So, teachers have enough on their plate.
And I think it's important to point out that Elizabeth, I know you've always been a big advocate of this, that there are 2 rooms in the reading room. In RAZ-Plus, there is the reading room, which has all of the books and just a ton. It's the library. And then there's the level up room. And that is that just right level room. It's got a lot less books at each level because, of course, we don't need them to master every book we have, right? So it takes a small percentage of those books, sometimes around 10 or 15. And once they complete all of the activities correctly in that section, they will move up a level automatically.
That's exciting. And so I think I need to be reading these a little differently because I just saw a note from Sarah about, I think Cheryl was the one who said, I assigned differentiated lists, but I'm not sure I was supposed to do it that way. So differentiated lists. So Cheryl, could you maybe give us a little more detail about that? And we'll come back, okay, to that, I promise. Jackie Reed said, I most love having a resource that is a wealth of leveled books that are of high interest to students and easily accessible for students and educators. Okay, thank you, Jackie. We appreciate that. Cheryl, can you kind of give us a little more detail about your question so we can help you? And if we don't have the answer for you today, I'm going to follow up with our trainers for you, okay?
And if I can jump in while we're waiting to see if she clarifies, we had a great conversation earlier in the week with Angela, who's not able to be here with us today, but we were talking about the Sprout stories that are on Headsprout. And I talked about that I had turned that feature off for my kids because when I had asked them to go into Headsprout, they weren't doing the episodes. They were in Headsprout, but they were doing Sprout stories. And I was going to check their usage and I noticed no one was finishing episodes and I was getting so frustrated and I realized they were going to the Sprout stories. Well, Sprout stories are decodable and they're great. They go along with all of the concepts that they're learning, but Angela suggested that we might want to turn off the Sprout stories during the week and turn them on the weekends so that kids can enjoy those during the weekend and fill in with the stories of their choice. So I thought that was a nice tip.
Oh, very good. Okay, Cheryl, thanks for adding some more detail. She said she was asking about that she assigned differentiated high frequency word card lists, but some kids didn't see them show up in theirs. So any idea why the kids wouldn't see those assignments on their side, either to Elizabeth or to Lori maybe?
I'm looking right.
Yeah, I'm wondering, she assigned them?
So there's high frequency word books, and I believe that's what you're referring to, correct? Or is it the assessment?
She said high frequency card lists.
Cards.
And okay, maybe she meant word lists. I'm not sure.
Maybe so. So there are most common words, flashcards, which are not assignable. Those are PDFs that can be projected and printed, and they're wonderful for use one-on-one with the students. And then there are high frequency word books, which you can assign, of course. And if you go in to assign those, you can go, yes, in any order. You can go one by one. You can do everyone at once. It should work in any way. So we may have to go through and walk with her the steps through those to see what we're looking at. We'd be happy to do that at any time.
Thank you, Lori. Yes, and for any of our participants today, just know this: if you ever have a challenge and you want to ask a specific question, send me a screenshot and I'll forward that on for you and we'll get you an answer as quickly as we can. So we really appreciate that you're in there using it and digging through these valuable pieces. Cheryl, thank you again for your question. Tina asked, does the primary or intermediate option need to follow their grade level, or is this more of a cosmetic aesthetic feature?
Aesthetic for sure. Because I have a second grader that also liked Avatar, but in kindergarten. So, and you couldn't have told her that was supposed to be intermediate. So.
Right. And if you have a fourth grader who doesn't want to see the planets, they want to see the older looking skin, we call it, then it would be appropriate to assign them to that skin. So that is cosmetic.
Very good. Thank you for helping us with that. And Tina asked, do you have to assign the placement test in Headsprout? Isn't it true that like when students log in, it's just going to be automatic, or am I right on that?
By default, the placement test is on. You
Or
can take
Headsprout.
them out of that
Mhm.
test if you want to put them in a specific episode.
If
But
you
by
feel
default,
like,
it's on.
you know, sometimes maybe they didn't take it seriously, or they were distracted, or, you know, you're thinking, I don't know about that. The
Yes.
teacher always rolls, as far as what I tell clients is that, you know, the student, you're the one that works with them, and you feel like, let's go ahead and, you know, rework this a little bit. You can do that.
And I will say from my experience that I did have a few students that didn't quite realize they needed to attend to that assessment quite as diligently as they should have. So they were placed in an earlier phonics set of lessons that was way not engaging for them because they had mastered those skills. So we talked about it. I reassigned the placement assessment. They retook it with a little more purpose, and now they're working exactly where they should be.
That is so exciting. Well, thank you all. It looks like, last one, if we have time. Melinda asked, can we start them over on Headsprout placement test? So you're saying that the teacher can trump it, right? So can they take it again? Or once they've...
No, you can. You can go back into your assignments and you can reassign the placement.
Okay, very good. That looks like all the questions for today. And so thank you to all of our participants for those great questions. Thanks to our panel for your expertise. And I think we're going to ask Christy, is it okay if we just hand it back to you? And thanks to everyone for participating today. And Christy's going to take it from here.
Thanks, Ellie. I did see one more question from Tina in the chat, and I'm not sure if we covered it, so I'm just going to throw it out there. How many books are in each level for the Level Up books? So maybe, is there a certain number?
There is not an exact number. And Elizabeth, it looks like you were going to answer.
Yeah,
it depends on the
every
level.
month.
Well, and in the Level Up room, remember, we want, as opposed to the reading room where it's all access to hundreds and hundreds of books and over 100 at each level. The Level Up room has that small amount of books, which can be anywhere from approximately 10 to 15 books. So at a 5th grade level, that book, of course, will be a lot longer. So we have less. Does that make sense?
Yes. And one last question that came in. If you need to reassign the Headsprout test, how do you do that?
I think I can pretty quickly show that. Let me go ahead and
go ahead, Jill.
Go right back in to, let me see if I remember. This is like a nice little pop quiz. So go back to that roster. It will take you back to your dashboard, and you should be able to see the assignment that they're working on. And Lori and Elizabeth, I might need just a little bit. If you click on Headsprout, aha, I found it, yay. Then you can click on the number that the student is working on and say, if you thought that this student was working way lower or way higher than they should be, you just click on that arrow by the number and you can click placement test again, and you can confirm that. And now when they log in, they will have lost everything that they had done, and they have to go back and do that placement test. Here again is where you can turn the Sprout stories off and on. So that might be something fun to consider for doing over the weekend, or turning it off during the week so you make sure they're focusing during school hours.
Thank you, Jill. Yes. Awesome. All right, Jill, I'm going to share now. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here today. Jill and Ellie, amazing tips for our Keller teachers. Lori and Elizabeth, thank you for your expertise in the Q&A. We really, really appreciate your time today. As we close out, I want to share with our teachers just a few things. I always like to remind you of the resources we have in Keller ISD. If you don't know about our KIC website, we in EdTech want you to know that everything we build and every help document we make goes onto our website called KIC, KIC, which stands for Keller Integration and Collaboration. Once you get there, you'll be sorted by types of ed tech, and you can click on one and get the help that hopefully you need in our district. And if you don't get the help you need, reach out to us. We want to remind you of another resource that we have on K-Cloud, like Ellie mentioned her RTI resource earlier. We do have an ed tech resource on K-Cloud, and it leads you to a link to our KIC website, but also to some of our social media or digital resources. We write a blog, so if you want that to come to your inbox once a week, you can subscribe to our blog. We're on Facebook and Twitter, and we are pretty active daily on those, sharing small bites of ed tech information for you. We also have a YouTube channel, which you're on right now, where we curate playlists for things that can help you and your students in Keller ISD. And uniquely in the situation we're in, we have lots of parents and even grandparents that need help with this remote instruction that we're doing. And so we have curated some resources there for parents that you can find under our EdTech link on K-Cloud. And they're also good resources for parents of in-school students too, as we put more and more technology in our classrooms. And finally tonight, oh, one more thing. We will start up Kickstart Your Learning Lives again in January, and we'll be coming to you on January 20th. You're not gonna wanna miss this one. Something about Let's Go Digital. It's gonna be a fun one. Finally, for ending tonight, closing tonight, I want to give you in the audience a chance to grab the link. This is a link to a Google form that will tell us your attendance here today. So we would appreciate it if you could fill it out in the next 48 hours. We will probably grant attendance around Friday this week. I want to thank you guys who presented again. Thank you. We could have never done such a thorough job without you. This is such a specialized resource, and we are so blessed to have it in Keller. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thank you to the vendors, Elizabeth and Lori, who were here. Thank you, Keller ISD teachers. We are always happy to have you at Kickstart, and we can't wait to see you in January.